what I'm trying to, I don't remember where we were. Do you remember where we were at? We were talking about the Anuna and like the whole idea. They seem to have took up roles within our reality. And this is why
Yes, you were
so
talking
many
about the
people,
interdimensional stuff.
and so many people are so obsessed with the whole UFO alien phenomenon right now. And I kind of chuckle because I absolutely believe there's beings all throughout the universe. It's vast, of course.
Of course there is. Statistically,
But I
it's
think
impossible
that
there's not.
we're sort of looking right at them. We are them, and they're all throughout our murals and depictions and talking about us. We're looking in the wrong place, in my opinion.
You think it's all here?
I think that any extraterrestrial species who's incredibly advanced that could possibly get here through some means, whether it's linearly through star system travel or through some kind of a gateway or portal, it'd be more like there's an inherent responsibility that's always put on top of that when you reach that level. I think Star Trek nailed that. And I think that if any group would always have that inherent responsibility to watch without us ever knowing that they're there. Why would they ever just willy-nilly fly around and pollute a timeline with people and start and do that? It's an inherent responsibility that's been grown over the course of what? That civilization's ability to get to where they were after 100,000 years or whatever. Like I think we're just a little bit too simplistic with our thinking. And so, yeah, I bet you we're being watched by all over the cosmos. Absolutely. I bet you we're like a reality show. Like I said to you last night, it's like a bunch of angels all killing each other.
But what you're also talking about, and maybe I'm losing it in the timeline of us jumping around here, but what you're talking about with, an ancient like God people sent here, that is an alien. And then if some of us are descendants of them, and then the rest of us are just some species that formed, I'm getting real meta here. Sorry. Then like there could be a small group of them among us. Right.
And I think that the challenge is, I guess I just don't like polluted terms.
You don't like what?
Polluted terms. The word alien has become so polluted
that
I almost don't even want to say it anymore. Because the thing I don't believe is I do not believe they arrived here on ships and stuff like that. And I don't believe that. Because the tablets, these beings that are described in this that created us, they don't need any of that. It's described how time doesn't exist for them. That's why they could come here 1 billion years ago and then come during a different time period, because when you're in the fifth dimension, time doesn't exist at all. It's nothing. So time you wouldn't be waiting around like watching your clock. Everything would literally happen only in the moment.
Do you think it's possible? I love this topic. I'm really glad you're on here. Do you think it's possible that there's some form of a controlled simulation? I actually don't like using
I know where you're going
there. But do you think it's possible that there's some sort of like controlled experiment for things to be seen on rare occasions by different people around the world in a consistent basis where they can make a similar description and people really saw what they saw, such that, the instant detraction from like any of the arguments on UFOs is like, oh, well, if these civilizations were so smart, why the fuck would they ever be seen? And it's something I throw out there all the time too. I always say, I think they're doing it on purpose. So do you think there could be things driven from things on this planet that are doing those things on purpose? And it's not just like, oh, the CIA is doing a couple experiments. It's like actually something else.
The best way I can describe it, and this is very unsettling for people, is that source creation that created everything in the universe created it perfectly.
Source creation?
God.
Okay.
There is a perfection to everything. If there wasn't, everything would collapse and just destroy itself. Everything is perfect. I want to give you an example, and I don't want to get too far off where we were, though, okay?
And let's actually... Yeah. Where were we exactly?
We are going to talk about how these beings are related to source, but how they altered our reality in a way that we're almost like we are in some kind of a simulation. Yeah, that's a good point to make sure we keep that.
Literally writing that down.
Yeah.
and I'm going to say this for all the people at home. one of the things about you, and you and I were talking about this last night at dinner, is that you have so much, forget like the timeline and how long
we haven't
it
even
is.
done this yet.
There's so much history that you'll go through and stuff. So when you do podcasts, sometimes people get frustrated if like the host accidentally gets you off something and you don't come back. So I want to make sure
we're going to come back.
If you're going to do context, we're going to come back.
Yeah, we're going to come back, guys. Don't worry.
There's a lot to tie back.
Yeah, we're gonna come back. I promise. We haven't even gotten into the heart of what our whole point of this conversation is. But I think this is context we need to understand. And I know that this is overwhelming to some, but if we don't lay it out, what we're about to talk about won't really make the same type of understanding or make sense the same way. Okay. Our Earth and the universe, in the way that everything moves, the way that elements come together, and the way that everything is perfect. I once saw a statistic, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but if anything in the physical aspect of our understanding of the universe was even slightly like 0.00001 different or something, everything would like collapse and crash into each other.
Yeah, it's perfectly tuned.
Everything is perfect, right? Now, imagine you're someone who comes to visit Earth, right? And you're learning about the biome systems here and the environments, and you're like, okay, so right now we're on the East Coast. We in summertime, spring and summer, the leaves come out and the trees all do their thing. And then what happens at fall? The leaves fall to the ground. They create the essential components of all life continuing at that point. Organic matter breaking down is the only reason why life can survive here. But so perfect though, the way that plants do with oxygen and carbon dioxide, and the way that they drop, and then everything grows based on this cycles of death and rebirth, and everything is perfect on this earth, except for us. We are something that's an anomaly. It seems strange, like we're here almost like we're visitors and we're trying to figure it out. And the way that I've described it as is we seem more like stewards of the earth than anything else. Is that we're supposed to be here taking care of it, and that's perhaps why we were created in the first place. This is where it's leading back to this. Because in the tablets, it talks about how there was this lower group of these gods called the Agigi. I-G-I-G-I.
I-G-I-G-I.
Okay? And that they were creating temples and clearing river channels in the Euphrates and Tigris before we were here. It does. It clearly states that. It says that before any mankind was here, they were like demigod gods that were doing the work for these like overlord gods.
Yes.
That's the best way I can describe it. Powerful beings that have a great interest in this place. And as I said, George Smith, his quote is, they seem to come backwards and forwards in time. Here, though, they have a great interest in here. And they talk about how they're always like fighting against the chaos of nature to alter it to what they want. Now, getting back to what we were saying, is that the Agigi eventually revolted. That's what it says in the Atrahasis. It's one of the almost ancient tablets from Sumer, and most of what we're going to be talking about comes from the Atrahasis. By far my favorite tablet. And it states that the Agigi revolted and didn't want to do work in this physical realm anymore. Think about realms for a minute. They didn't want to do that anymore. It's like almost like lower work. And so they decided to create humanity based on their gifts, but so we could toil, they said, do the work of the gods. Okay? So we are created to do everything here. Infrastructure, taking care of the river channels, because people don't understand that. They talk about it all the time, because if you have a river channel in an arid area, the Euphrates and Tigris, and you don't clear it out, it'll fill with silt and you can't use it anymore. So they talked about how you had to clear the river channels with the sediment to keep them open to flow, or they'll fill up with sediment in arid areas. So it talks about how that's what we needed to do, all that stuff, grow everything, build temples and all these things.
Does this happen, are you saying this happens naturally because of how we were programmed, or there's also some source communication that happens among some of us that allows us this, again, very meta?
Remember the whole concept of like fallen angels? That idea? That's it. That's what happened. Wait,
hold on. Stop.
Right?
I want to make sure I understand. Is this getting into like some of the stuff that like Diana Walsh Basolka talks about?
Maybe. I don't know her work.
Okay, continue.
We're not going to go into biblical stuff too much. I'm just going to scratch the surface, because it is the only way we can understand this. In Lebanon and in the area of Syria is a place called Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon is supposedly where some of these fallen angels in the book of Enoch came down. Now, the book of Enoch, for people that don't know, was originally supposed to be a text in the Christian text, the Hebrew Christian text, but it was taken out.
What's that mount? How do you spell it?
Mount Hermon, Hermon.
Oh, spelling it wrong. Sorry. That's in Syria, you said?
It's on the border between Syria, Lebanon, and that region right there.
Okay, I'll put that in the corner of the screen for people.
So the point is, these creators did something they weren't supposed to. They supposedly broke these universal cosmic laws that exist. Now we're getting deep. I can't...
Bro, we got deep a long time ago.
There are supposedly cosmic laws that exist in the universe that they're supposed to adhere to.
Which are?
Creation can only happen if it's based on certain things. They violated creation by, and I hope I don't lose people with this, but they describe how they created us and we were so perfect that some of them had sex with the women. This is where we get into demi bloodlines.
And where are you getting what's the source
Book of Enoch?
That one?
The Book of Enoch. It discusses in other places, but the Book of Enoch predominantly says they were fallen, or they became fallen because they slept with the daughters of men, and that's in Genesis too. That's in Genesis as well. They slept with.
How's it in Genesis?
I don't remember the exact passage, but it says in Genesis, it relates to giants and fallen angels. It says they slept with the daughters of men. And men meaning mankind, because we weren't called human beings; we were called mankind. That's what our name is from their text, is that we're originally called mankind. So they create a perfect creation. It's so perfect that, I mean, literally, as someone who's, beautiful women are beautiful. They really are.
100%.
Okay. I happen to
Don't
have
disagree.
one. My wife is very beautiful.
Congrats.
Thank you. And the thing is, that's what they state, that they literally, some of them came down and bred with some of these beautiful women and then created this abominated bloodline that was like half gods and half humans. And this is what angered in those ancient texts. I told you about some of these gods falling out of favor with humanity and then putting us into basically hell, creating hell here
on Earth.
Yes. By creating massive empires and war and structuring everything completely different.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. Please hit that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.